Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel of Mr. Footballer Loons, and today I'm doing the Premier League table predictions. This series is back when I predict the Premier League, and we're going to be starting off from 20th going all the way to first place. And in 20th position I have put Nottingham Forest. They survived the last 2 seasons in the Premier League ever since coming back up from the Championship. They have been flirting with relegation for those 2 seasons. Last year it was Luton Town, Burnley and Sheffield United which got promoted from the Championship. And now it's Ipswich Town, Leicester City and Southampton, which are a massive improvement. And the signings that they've done I think are okay. I think Elliot Anderson from Newcastle United, annoyed as a Newcastle fan that we couldn't grow him into a great player. He did suffer with a few injuries at Newcastle United, but he is great for the future and I'm sure he is Premier League quality and will be able to do a good job for Nottingham Forest. But they also have brought in Nikola Milinkovic. That is a great signing, and maybe that could help with the set piece problem. But Nottingham Forest had the 4th best defence from open play, but their set pieces were that bad that I put them into a relegation battle. Considering they only finished in 17th and they're being in a relegation battle, I feel like it's time. And if one of the big players get injured on the bench, I don't feel like they've got anyone to replace them. And with the high intensity of the Premier League, injuries to big players will happen, and I don't feel Nottingham Forest will be able to replace them because the bench, in my opinion, is a bit too weak. And the 3 newly promoted sides is an improvement, so that's going to really hit on them, and then they're going to fall down into like 20th position. It'll be 5 points separating 20th and 15th in my opinion. I think there's going to be 6 teams ruffled in a relegation battle. I could be completely wrong and they could finish 16th, but I think it'll be very competitive and much more exciting than last season. As we move on to 19th place, it is newly promoted Southampton. Technically speaking, Southampton was the worst Championship side out of the 3 to get promoted because they did finish in the playoffs, and at the start of the season it was looking shocking. Southampton fans were not impressed with Russell Martin at all. If you give the manager time with Russell Martin, it eventually started to click. And Flynn Downs, amazing, and great to see him permanently signed for Southampton as well. He has had a bit of Premier League experience in the past with West Ham United. After having a fantastic season with Southampton, it's definitely going to be a reason for Southampton to survive. And also Hardwood Bellis coming in on a permanent, another great player. And I haven't mentioned Kyle Walker-Peters. Why did he stay in the Championship? He was a Premier League quality player throughout the entirety of that Championship season, helped in the attacking scenarios and was great defensively. He's kind of got the complete package, Kyle Walker-Peters. Then you have Adam Armstrong, 34 goal contributions. Crazy. Adam Armstrong did it again in the Championship, but can he do it in the Premier League? He only scored 2 goals last time he was in the Premier League. Do I think Adam Armstrong this year can actually be that Premier League striker? I'm going to predict he's going to get 8 to 10 goals as long as he stays fit for the entire season. And can I say, I think they've done very well in the transfer window. 11 great signings. They bring in Diaz, which is an absolute great player. He was fantastic for Sheffield United, one of the biggest threats, and he's going to have to start on that team. With Southampton making all those signings, increasing the depth, and a couple of decent loans are returning back to the club, I feel like they've got a bigger and stronger depth on the bench than Forest. That's why I think they'll finish above them. But I feel like it could be goal difference between Nottingham Forest and Southampton. But if we look at the goalkeeper situation for Southampton, they've got the worst goalkeepers in the Premier League, in my opinion. And in the Premier League, you need really good goalkeepers, and Southampton do not have that, and they're going to concede a lot of goals. And I think they will finish below Ipswich Town and Leicester City because last season they started off the season very unconvincing and they got big defeats against Sunderland 5-0. They got battered by Leicester 5-0 and they lost against Leicester twice last year and also lost against Ipswich Town as well. And Southampton did finish below Ipswich Town and Leicester City. But also I feel like Steve Cooper and Kieran McKenna is better managers than Russell Martin, in my opinion. And like I said, it could be by a point they could get relegated by, because I think it's going to be seriously close in the bottom 5 or 6 teams. The next team above is Brentford. I don't know what I'm doing here. It feels wrong considering they were fighting for Europe a couple of seasons ago. Their Premier League run, 13th position. Great start to the Premier League. 9th place, European football, then 16th. A lot of it was injuries, like for every team last year. It had to have been one of the worst seasons for injuries in the Premier League. That was the big issue. And also Ivan Toney for the majority of the season getting suspended. And I look at that attack. That is a great attack. And Webu, Wisser and Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney hasn't left, even though he's been wanting to leave the last 4 years. He's still at the club. And it feels wrong if Ivan Toney does see out the rest of his 1-year contract with Brentford. And I'm saying they're finishing 18th. I could look an absolute mug. But like I said with Southampton, like I said with Nottingham Forest, they could easily finish in 15th because of the 3 newly promoted sides are way more quality. And considering at times Brentford did look like a championship side if their big players get injured and the midfield looks a bit naff. And the fullbacks, I'm not a fan of the fullbacks. Other than Rico Henry, which is a great fullback, is fantastic. But really, he got injured last season. Another problem again. And the fullbacks, I'm not really a fan of them. I think they need fullbacks. They conceded way too many goals last year. I'm going to have to put them in 18th position. It is hard. It feels wrong. I've actually done 8 different table predictions and finally made my verdict in this video right here. And 5 out of the 8 times, I put Brentford to stay up. So you can see how close it actually is. And moving on to 17th position, Ipswich Town. They've just been promoted and it's a crazy story. I love the story of Ipswich Town. I feel like I want to change it up right now. I want to put Southampton in 17th. I want to put Brentford in 17th. But Kieran McKenna, he's a great manager. In League One, scoring over 100 goals, finishing in 2nd. Then to do it again. And I do know that a lot of their players are from League One. And the step up from the Championship to the Premier League is huge. But everyone's going on about Kieran McKenna being fantastic. And he has done a good job. And they do play attacking football like Vincent Kompany did. But I think this Ipswich side is better than Burnley's side. That's why I think they have a chance. And with the signings of Muric, which in my opinion, Muric shouldn't be playing for a relegation battle side, because I think he's good enough to be playing for a top 10 side. I think Muric is really good. Other than the 2 huge obvious mistakes he made with Burnley, with his feet from those 2 sloppy passes, his shot stopping is sensational. Goalkeeper diving, reflexes, reactions at a quality level. And in the Premier League, to stay up, you need a quality keeper and a good defence. Of course you do. And they've brought in Greaves as well in the centre-back position. Another fantastic signing, which is another reason why I think Ipswich should stay up. Greaves, one of the best defenders in the Championship. Great for Hull City. Already that strengthened the defence, the goalkeeper position as well. And Leif Davis as well, 18 assists. A bit like Alfie Doughty for Luton Town, but even better. Playing absolutely fantastic. Really good player. And if Luton Town can finish in 18th and put in a great shift at times, it looked like Luton Town could comfortably stay up, then Ipswich can definitely finish in 18th and take it a step further, because Ipswich have got a stronger side in my opinion, and they'll be able to take it a step further and finish in 17th. And I really feel like the style of play from Ipswich Town is going to be good. I really look forward. I want them to finish in 17th. Moving on to 16th position, it's Leicester City. You were probably wondering when I was going to mention Leicester City, and I have heard about all the points deduction and everything. If they didn't have a points deduction, they could finish in 13th. I think their squad is by far the best out of the 3 promoted sides. And I think overall, in terms of depth and everything, it is better than Brentford's. I'm confident in saying that. And I think it's an absolute great side, and there's got so many Premier League improvements. I mean, Wilfred Ndidi, of all players, is still there. Had a good season in the Championship. 100% proven in the Premier League. Pereira, he played a bit more of a left back, but he could easily play in right back. Premier League quality. Jamie Vardy made 18 starts in the Championship and scored 18 goals. Yes, I know Enzo Maresca has left Leicester City, which he did do a decent enough job with Leicester to get them promoted, even though the second half of the season was so shocking. Enzo Maresca has gone, and a lot of Leicester fans didn't really like his style of play and everything. Steve Cooper coming in, he's done it with Nottingham Forest with this refreshed side, which this Leicester side is definitely better than Nottingham Forest side, in my opinion. I think 100% Leicester City could stay up. But when they went down from the Premier League in 18th, it didn't seem right, considering they got back-to-back 5th place, and then the year before they finished 8th. And they've also won the Premier League title 8 years ago. Just does not seem right, and I have to keep them up, because they've got such a strong side. If they weren't getting deducted points, I would put them higher, but I'm actually very confident they'll stay up. Moving on to 15th, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Their squad has decreased in quality because of the loss of Max Kilman, Wolves' best defender, and the loss of Pedro Neto. In my opinion, he was absolutely world class, and I could easily put Wolves in relegation zone. I look back at the end of their season, and they went on a huge losing streak, and I remember it was absolutely awful, but you could say some of the results were skewed because of VAR. They did butch them quite a bit. Garino is a good manager, and considering he did a good job with Bournemouth when I thought they were a championship quality club, and he still managed to keep them up. And when Neto was gone, they still had players like Cunha and Hwang Hee-chan, but when Hwang Hee-chan got injured, other players got injured. It was a bit all over the place, and they were going on a losing streak, but they would 100% be in a relegation battle. At the moment, they haven't properly replaced Kilman or Neto, but I'm sure of £80+ million they'll be able to replace them and finish in 15th, but I would not be surprised if they go down. I just still feel like they've got a decent side and a decent manager, so they'll stay up in 15th, but they will fall down a place because of some huge losses and some bad performance at the end of last season. As I get on to 14th position, Fulham FC. Fulham in 14th. They finished 13th last year. I don't think they're going to be threatening with relegation. They brought in Smith Rowe. You know what? If Smith Rowe is going to stay fit all season, wonderful signing. Obviously, they did lose Reed to Leicester City, and Fulham are kind of that team where it's so hard to beat them. You don't know whether you're going to win or lose against them. They're going to really tickle teams from 20th all the way up to 1st. And they're, in my opinion, that kind of mid-table. But I think the loss of Pauhina, the loss of Adebayo is huge, in my opinion. Huge players. And I think their squad has actually decreased, especially without Reed as well. I don't know. I think 14th is fair because I think the teams I'm about to say, I think have a quality step up to them. As we move on to 13th position, I've got Everton. Their last season at Goodison Park. I think they'll stay up comfortably. I've seen some people putting them in a relegation battle, but I just cannot see it. Everton's defence is too good. Jared Banthwaite and Tawaski. Tawaski got the most blocks in the Premier League last year and partnered up fantastically with Jared Banthwaite. Remember, Jordan Pickford's an absolute solid keeper, and Mikalenko in left back, he was outstanding as well. I know they've lost Onana in the middle, but they've got James Garner and Decore still in there. Goal scoring is the problem. That's why everyone thinks they're going to get relegated. Everton have got plenty of strikers that they can mess around with and find a way around. And with Sean Dyche on the wheel, that low block, the defending, Sean Dyche suits Everton, especially that the defence is so good. Sean Dyche suits Everton. The end of last season, the form from last season was superb. Last year at Goodison Park, they're going to make it a good one. I just cannot see them going down. Got too good of a history, too good of a side. I think it's going to be comfortable. 13th position. As we move on to 12th position, I have Brighton and Hove Albion. Yep, Brighton in 12th. I'm saying they're going to fall off a place. 10th to 12th, it could be either way really. Brighton, they've lost De Zerbi. And last year, he was kind of distracted from doing a different job and everything, and Brighton had a lot of injuries to Mitoma, and Solly March was like injured for the entire season. I don't know when he's going to returning, Solly March, but if he's still got it in the bag, he's a quality player returning. I don't see Brighton finishing in the relegation zone. I don't see them finishing in the bottom 6. Some people do have them in the bottom 6, and I can see why. But the recruitment is always good. Mitoma's returning from injury. Ferguson's returning from injury. I think really I look at it and probably the defence is the worst part. But the loss of Pascal Gross is huge. Bringing in Yankuba Minter, fantastic, alongside his teammate as well from Feyenoord, so they already know each other. And Minter and Feyenoord finish in second. Those players have been proven at a decently high level. So those are some good transfers there. 2 Feyenoord players. And the manager, yes, he's 31, which I believe is probably the youngest manager in the Premier League. He seems like he's always kind of wanted to be a coach. Even in his 20s, he was assistant. He finally got given the chance to be the head coach / manager for FC St. Paul in the Bundesliga 2. And guess what? He got them promoted. So he's kind of had 8 years of kind of this coaching experience. Still inexperienced, but besides that, Brighton have a great recruitment team. I'm happy with their transfers. There's a lot of players going to be returning from injury, and it can't go too much worse than last season in my opinion. But I think the side has weakened since they finished in like the top 6. But now without European football, maybe they might have a chance. But in my opinion, they finish in 12th. And 11th position, I have AFC Bournemouth. Iriola. Bournemouth played fantastic last year. Proved me wrong. I said they were going to finish in the relegation zone, and they didn't. Iriola did a fantastic job. Solanke, goals galore. Bournemouth, definitely not going to get relegated. And you know what? Sinistera, if he can be fit throughout the entire season, he's going to improve that attack and improve that Bournemouth side. Because I seen what he could do with Leeds United when he had those small snippets where he wasn't injured. And at Bournemouth, he looked very good. If he can have a full season with Solanke, Bournemouth are cooking. Bournemouth are cooking. Kluivert had a good season. And overall, I cannot see Bournemouth doing much worse than 10th, 11th, 12th. Bournemouth in 11th. In 10th position, I'm putting Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, at the end of last season, they're the best team in the Premier League, it seemed. Battering Aston Villa 5-0. Obviously, the trio in Michael Olise, Eze, Mateta, and then obviously Mark Gay being the best England player at Euro 2024. Everyone knows how good Mark Gay is. Alongside Anderson, which I think is an absolute fantastic, great player. Crystal Palace have a great core. It's fantastic. But Olise has been sold to Bayern Munich. One player doesn't mean the complete downfall of Crystal Palace, I do have to admit, but still, it is a big loss. They've still got Eze and Mateta, and Oliver Glanzer as the boss is definitely going to help them. I have heard Mark Gay is keen to move to Newcastle. If this is the case, Crystal Palace are going to find it hard to replace him. But overall, Crystal Palace, it's going to be a good season. I think 10th place is exactly where you're going to finish. Exactly the same as last season. But it's going to be more of a consistent set of performances throughout the season, because last season it was just near the end that they managed to get loads of wins and finish in 10th. But here it's going to be much more consistent. Oliver Glanzer is going to get you Crystal Palace playing some good football. As 9th place, I'm putting West Ham United. Forever blowing bubbles, West Ham United. They brought in Somerville. What a great signing. He scored 20 goals in the Championship with Leeds United. A fantastic West Ham side. West Ham don't have any huge outgoings, and we've seen the likes of Kudus and Jared Bowen and James Ward-Prowse, free kick specialist. The defence was a real problem last year, but now with Max Kilman, the best centre-back at Wolves, coming in for a high price of around £40 million, he's definitely going to help them, because West Ham conceded over 70 goals despite finishing in 9th position last year. I'm putting them in the same position. They're going to have another good season, and they don't have any European football either, so I don't see them dropping off. Their side has increased in quality, and then obviously Lopetegui as the manager, and I think he's going to be good enough with West Ham to finish in 9th place. And I don't see him breaking into the top 8. I do not see West Ham breaking into top 8. Because in 8th place, I've got Manchester United. That is right. Back-to-back 8th place. I'm calling it right now. The reason why I've done this is look at last season. Look how dreadful it was. So many unconvincing wins. In my opinion, I think they've done well in the transfer market. Yoro coming in and Xerxes. But another reason why I think they will finish in 8th is because of those transfers. Yes, they are good, but Yoro's injured for the first 3 months, and it's going to take him time to get back to his normal fitness, especially being only 18 years old. And Xerxes, Erik ten Hag said he won't be straight away in the starting 11. It'll take him a few weeks to get back to it, especially not playing pre-season. But Erik ten Hag, I don't think is the real deal to get into the Champions League, but from 8th to 5th, it could be either way, to be honest. And I feel like it'll be just 4 points separating 8th to 5th. But also, I think they'll win the Europa League. I mean, almost every year they always win a trophy, and I don't see them getting into the top 4 or top 6 just because I feel like the teams above are better than Man United. The reason why I think they can win the Europa League, Marcus Rashford, he can perform at times. And I feel like Manchester United always win trophies, and with the likes of Luke Shaw and Martinez in there, eventually Yoro's going to be returning, and we all know he can be an absolute great player as well. So I do feel like Erik ten Hag will stay throughout the entire season, because I feel like Man United can win the Europa League. Got that feeling they'll win the Europa League and finish in 8th. But in 7th place, I've got Aston Villa. There's a reason why I've got them above Manchester United, because I just feel like Unai Emery is a fantastic manager and a better manager than Erik ten Hag. I think everyone can probably say that in recent time. Don't get me wrong, Erik ten Hag has had his fair shares of goodness, but last season the taxes were all over the place. But Aston Villa have got a great side. The loss of Diaby and Douglas Luiz is huge, but bringing in Luton Town's best player last season, Ross Barkley, and bringing in Everton's best midfielder, Onana into the team is definitely replaced Douglas Luiz very nicely there. Philogene coming in, he did well in the Championship. He used to be at Aston Villa, but now he's returning to Aston Villa. I feel like it is a downgrade from Moussa Diaby. I know Diaby didn't probably have the end products, but I felt like he was such good at doing everything else and really helped Aston Villa and was a world-class player. So I think that is a downgrade. I might be wrong. If he proves me wrong, fantastic. But I feel like Aston Villa with Ollie Watkins as well, it is just fantastic. And bringing in Maatsen as well from Chelsea is a great youngster for the future and might be able to slot into that starting 11 as well. But Aston Villa overall with Unai Emery is doing very well, but I think the fall off will be from the Champions League, the new format where I think they have to minimum play 8 games and there's like 4 more teams in the Champions League. And the Champions League is a different level to the Conference League. It's going to be quite hard. And at the end of last season, Aston Villa went on a terrible streak. They lost 5-0 to Crystal Palace, like I said earlier on in the video. And the last 5 games, they had 5 points. They just did not look right, especially after Conference League making them tired was probably a part of it. But overall, Champions League football in the form of last season's pretty poor, but they are better than Manchester United with a good manager, and they still managed to finish 4th. So I see them finishing above Manchester United. I was torn between 7th and 8th, but I am putting them in 7th position. Champions League will be a very big thing, and I feel like Newcastle improving will also put them down. And the team above, Tottenham Hotspur, I've got in 6th position, and I think it will be a place fall off. Purely because I feel like Newcastle coming back, like I said with Aston Villa, is going to push them down a place. And the reason why I don't think they'll be able to improve is because their signings of Archie Gray and Bergvall are good for the future. And Archie Gray had a fantastic season with Leeds United, but it's his first season's inexperience. But I do feel like they'll still finish with Aston Villa and Manchester United just because of Ange Postecoglou. If you look at the difference beforehand and then when he came in was huge. And they've still got players like Son, Richarlison having an improved season. And I think Timo Werner going on another loan with them in left wing played pretty well with Kulusevski as well. Van de Vaan's a great defender and Vicario is a great keeper, but the defence was also a bit leaky. I don't see them getting into the top 4 because at the end of last season it was also pretty poor. They were going on a huge losing streak, and I feel like with that inconsistency, not keeping a consistent season throughout, I feel like will also be a problem. There's something about them that just does not seem complete. They need many more signings. But in 5th position, I have Chelsea. Their side is world class. That's why I've got them above Tottenham, Manchester United and Aston Villa, because their side is so good. Cole Palmer, 22 goals, 11 assists, 33 goal contributions, young player of the season last year. He's probably in the top 10 players in the world at the moment. He's such a young star. It's a young, promising side, not just Cole Palmer. And Kuka's going to be able to start the season without injuries, and they're going to finally have that goal scorer. Nicholas Jackson behind him, which at times looks promising. And they also have Raheem Sterling, which is world class in my opinion. I still feel like he's still the same player like he was at Man City. He's absolutely world class. Cucurella, the best Euro 2024 left back. It looks fantastic. Their club is stacked with Dewsbury Hall and Pedro Neto coming in. Is even more of an improvement. And their side, I mean, Reece James, if he's going to stay fit, oh my god, this side is absolutely cooking. And they are, in my opinion, better than the 3 teams below them. And they should be challenging for the title, but Pochettino going, the momentum breaking, I feel like be the reason why they don't hit top 4. But they still have a great side, that's why they're finishing 5th. And I still feel like their side still needs a bit of time to gel, and they need to establish themselves in top 6 with European football this time, because last year they didn't have European football. Once they establish themselves and can prove to themselves that they can finish in a top 6 position with European football beside them again, that's when they can push on and win the title, because they've got the squad. They just need maybe a different manager than Maresca. I don't think he's the one to take them to glory. I feel like they need a few more experienced players, because the transfer window seems a bit of a mess, bringing in players that have barely played senior football. But next year, they could definitely win the league title, and I might even back them up if this year goes as planned. Newcastle are back, and I'm putting them in 4th position. Yes, that's right, call me biased, I am saying Newcastle United. I mean, look at it, no European distraction whatsoever. That is superb. And if we compare this squad to the 22-23 squad where Newcastle finished in 4th, getting loads of points, it's the same, plus more. Sandro Tonali, it's not like he's a complete new signing. He was suspended throughout the entire last season, but he already knows the ins and outs of Newcastle. He's fully fit. He's been training with Newcastle. It's fantastic. He's back. He's world class. Bruno Guimaraes is world class. Joe Linton's world class. One of the reasons why our defence went absolutely terrible partway through the season is because Joe Linton went and he couldn't protect Dan Burn. But him back in the side with Lewis Hall looking composed as ever in the Premier League at the end there, and having a good pre-season like against Hull City, we won at 2-0. Nick Pope, world class. Alexander Isak, top 3 strikers in the Premier League in my opinion, scoring like what, 20 or something goals. Anthony Gordon, 10 goals, 10 assists. Considering the side, it's pretty much the same like the 22-23 side, and we've got no European distraction like we did back then. Why not 4th position plus an improved side? Every position world class. Fabian Schär, it looks fantastic. Eddie Howe's a good enough manager. Just hope he doesn't go for the England job. And overall, Newcastle fantastic. And if we can get in Mark Gay, who is very keen to join Newcastle, and Newcastle keep on putting in bids. But if we can get him in, it's a complete side, and I think we will, because Newcastle are keen, Mark Gay is keen. Call me biased. Come on, Newcastle. But in 3rd position, I've got Liverpool. Now, Liverpool, obviously, Clippity Clop being the big news. He went, and Arne Slot came in. And you know what? Arne Slot also has the high-intensity, attacking, aggressive football that Klopp does. So already, I don't think Liverpool will fall off, because Klopp's football is continuing under Arne Slot. And he's also had a good history. He won the Eredivisie back in the 22-23 season with Feyenoord. Great history with Feyenoord in the Eredivisie. And now he's coming into Liverpool, which not all their players are suddenly going to disappear. They've still got their main core players. And I feel like those still quality players. I think they will be in a title race like before, but they might fall off around the 20th, 25th game of the week, because I feel like it's going to take time for Arne Slot to gel with Liverpool. But overall, very promising from Liverpool. The side still looks good. They haven't got rid of loads of their big players, because a lot of people have got them to fall off, but I cannot see it happening, because the style of football is very similar to Klopp's, and he has some good history as well. So I can see Liverpool still doing well under Arne Slot. It's a good appointment. The reason why I'm not putting them 3rd is because it will take time to gel with Arne Slot, and because in 2nd I have Manchester City, and Manchester City are Manchester City. They're a solid side. The only way I could see Liverpool maybe winning it is maybe if Manchester City does get breached with 115 charges and gets deducted points. I think it will be close at times, but overall Man City are Man City. Their squad is amazing. This could be Pep's last season, so I wouldn't be surprised for Man City to win it. And evidently there's only one team left, Arsenal in 1st. Looking at it, last season, okay, Arsenal got 4 points from Manchester City, okay? They won at 1-0 and drew at 0-0. And Man City also lost against Aston Villa. And when they played Aston Villa battered them. I've never seen, for a very long time, a team actually batter Man City like that. Aston Villa won at 1-0, but it seemed like it should have been 2-3-0. Absolute domination. We've seen Liverpool at game week 28. They drew at 1-1. And looking at that game, they played better than Man City. More shots, more possession, and overall they looked better. And they probably should have won that game. So Man City's been challenged by Aston Villa, been challenged by Arsenal, been challenged by Liverpool. So many teams are now challenging, and it's more than normal last season. But it looks like Man City are slowly but surely getting challenged by different teams. Teams are finding out how to beat Man City last season more than ever, and it was so close. Arsenal, the last 2 years they've been in a title race. They've been pushing and pushing and pushing. You could say, oh no, Arsenal don't have a proper number 9 striker like Erling Haaland. They still scored 91 goals without it. Arsenal's side has strengthened, and considering they were so close last year, they only need a little bit of strengthening in depth, and that's what they've done with Calafiori to push. And considering Arsenal did pretty well against Man City, you're not going to win it 5 in a row. I'm actually kind of confident about Arsenal to finish 1st, but I wouldn't be surprised considering it's probably Pep's last season for Man City to finish 1st. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I a mug? Don't take it to heart, it is just my opinion. Have a great discussion down in the comments. But Newcastle will get Champions League football. You just watch out. Come on, Newcastle United, the champions!